5 reasons why Kenyan youths are broke. Oh my goodness, having interacted with a lot of Kenyan youths, there's something that I've observed and it's quite not in order. And I'm making this video not because that I know everything, but I'm here to share with you some of the insights. And I hope if you're a Kenyan youth and watching this, well, not because I'm giving you this as a financial advice, but I hope you can take one or two that can help you in one way or the other. As I speak, I'm also a Kenyan youth, for your information, because obviously I'm below 35 years. Let's get on the business. These reasons, I've divided them into two categories. We have what we call the internal factors, and we have what we call the external factors. Meaning, the internal factors is it's you being the reason as to why you are broke or that particular thing. And then the external factors are the things that you yourself, you cannot control. They're happening from outside there that you do not have a control about it. Let's get on the business. Now, number one reason that I've actually found that the Kenyan youths are broke, and I've actually summarized. That's why I'm keep on looking down here. Let me just put it here so that I don't forget all these points. Now, I realize that most of the Kenyan youths, they lack what we call the sense of urgency. What does it mean? The sense of urgency in the sense that, they're so reluctant, they're not in a hurry, a little bit of pressure, you're gone. For example, there's one I had employed for the purposes of editing my videos. For me, I try the best I can to shoot a video every day. So you're like, you know what, guy, hey, edit that video, I would like to upload it. I did that. So they're like, oh, okay, you know what, give me some few minutes, give me some minutes, they're just so reluctant. They're not in a hurry, like, it's like they have the entire world, the entire life, and all that kind of thing. So the way I was brought up, because I'm not a Gen Z, I'm a millennium. The way we were brought up under pressure. Things has to work. Faster. We're here, do this, do that. So, but the Kenyans use you fight. By the way, this is not even a Kenyan news per se, but it's actually kind of mirrored our entire world. You find they don't have that sense of urgency, a little bit of pressure. They just quit. I saw somebody quitting a certain job, a very good paying job, just because a little bit of pressure here and there. And to some extent, anyway, they might actually take that on as a win to them or from their own eyes. But as a millennial, again, not advising Gen Zs, but putting out my point out there, I find it like it can be a problem, because in the process of you not being urgent to some things, then, for example, been telling you guys, hey, buy shares, invest here, do this, but they're like, you know what, I don't want to invest, let me take time, let me study, let me do this. They just want to gather all the knowledge before they even invest. Listen, there's no way you'll come a point whereby you say, now I know enough. No, sometimes you take action when you have I usually tell people, if you have a 65% of understanding over something, get started. The rest of the 35, you'll actually learn it along the way. But that's the lack of sense of urgency. It's a reason. And these are internal reasons. Another reason, it's a wrong belief. Wrong belief in the sense that I'm broke because someone is rich. You find there is a hatred that is actually happening in America, and I've also seen it here in Kenya. You find wealthy people, rich people, and I'm not saying all the wealthy people are good. There are some who are bad, really, really bad. There are people who made their wealth in a very genuine way, but you find these people are hated. You know what? I do not have money because, for example, there were statistics released recently by, I think it was Oxfam. It says that 125 Kenyans are holding wealth more than 43 millions. Among those 25 people, honestly speaking, there are people who have genuinely made their wealth. But there are others who are crooked, government kickbacks and what have you. We cannot eradicate those traces. They are all over the world. But you find youths are living in a sense that, hey, I am broke because someone is rich. By virtue of this guy being rich, that's why I'm broke. So therefore, I can justify as to why I do not have money. They are more of blaming the people outside there more than blaming themselves. And I think this one will actually come again with something called blame game. The blame game is another reason as to why Kenyan youths are broke. Blame game is, hey, you know what? I'm poor because I was born from a poor family. That can be true. And there's something I told you sometimes back. We will understand you as far as you are from 1 year all the way to 30 years. We will understand you. Tell us you came from a broke family. It's okay, we can understand. Or, my parents didn't have money. It's okay, we can understand. We will understand. But the moment you clock 30 years and above, no excuse. It's no longer, it now shifts from your parents or where you come from to now what have you done yourself. Since you became an adult, you became an adult 18, because the age of consent in Kenya is 18 years. So 12 years ago, this is when you became an adult. So what have you done you yourself? Because you are now heading over to becoming a parent. Now, have you identified the mistakes that your parents did? And how are you rectifying the mistake that your parents did? Did they rush into the early marriages? Because most of the African parents, they did that. You know, back then, our parents used to view like marriage is the ultimate thing, is the ultimate goal, is become wealth and what have you. That is no longer the case. You know, they used to say, hey, you know what, give birth early so that you can bring up your kids early, you can do. That was the argument. But things have changed. You know, the way things used to work back then is not the way things are working right now. So now you identify the mistake that they did, then do not repeat that mistake. Even if sometimes it means, you know, sometimes you may rough up with them, but you do not want to repeat that particular mistake. So they blame, oh, I'm poor because I was born from a poor family, you know, and what have you, you know. And this one also goes with what we call blaming even the government. You know, government do not have a good policies. By the way, that's another point. Now, this is an external factor. There's some of the, you know, reasons as to why the Kenyan youths are broke, but they cannot have a control over it. We cannot sweep this under the carpet. The fact remains that the government of Kenya has not done enough to make sure that the youths are provided with good competing ground. Or can I say this? We don't have good what do you call them? Government policies that favor the youths in one way or the other. For example, someone has cleared the university. Personally, I'm a university graduate, okay? And hey, I'm telling you, my friend, do you know how long it took me to get an attachment? Not a job, not even an internship, for your information, and just to be attached for me to graduate. It was an issue. I remember I paid that company. They asked me for 4,500 Kenyan shilling for them to attach me in their company to acquire the relevant experience for the purposes of me graduating. How about then if I was looking for a job? Imagine I struggled to look for a company to pay them to attach me into their place. So bitter. So now there are some of the policy governments, the government policies that are not favorable to youths, and I'm glad that although I've not even bothered to check a little bit about what government has been doing on that, but I heard there's something I don't know about internship. Okay, let me not talk about it because I do not know exactly what was it, but I heard they were talking about I don't know, them making internship available for youths and whatever. The fact remains, the government policies, it's not so favorable for the youths. So opportunities are limited. Number two, which is an external factor that a youth does not have a control in Kenya, is what we call an even competition ground, an even ground for competing. It is not even. You find somebody, nowadays, if you apply for a job, you take it somewhere, they ask you, who do you know? I don't know nobody. I'm just bringing my own application here. They tell you, okay, fine, put it in that particular basket and then we shall call you. Nobody calls you. That is regarded as a dustbin. They take it there, they shred it, and it's done. So those things you cannot control as a Kenyan youth. So as a result, so combination of both internal and external factors, and this is what is making most of the Kenyan youth to even kind of quote unquote give up in life. They'll be like, you know what? First of all, you have to understand one thing. Kenyan youth of nowadays, they are weak. That is a fact. They are weak. They cannot succumb to pressure. They cannot, they are not used to handling. You know, we were brought up in a very, very tough way. I remember these youths as they were growing, most of them, especially the Gen Zs, you find that, back then we used to have a lot of beatings in school, you know. I mean, you could be, for example, I'm making this video in the early morning. Right now, you could be having several strokes on top of you just because you didn't carry a jerrycan of water. You know, back then we never used to have classrooms, the cemented classroom. So it used to be dusty, so we had to splash water. I mean, for those Kenyans know what I'm talking about. It may sound Greek to some people, but anyway, the fact remains we used to get a lot of beatings, and the life used to be very tough. And I think to some extent those guys prepared us for a very tough time. And that's why you find most of the millennials are very tough. They are resilient. You know, they have the zeal, they have the motivation. They even work at a very, 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 very hard pressure. They still work there. They don't even quit. But youths, I mean, these Gen Zs, they don't have that time. They say, hey, you know what? You be tough. I quit the job. I don't want it. They're done. And in that sense, then it brings them to a point whereby they become vulnerable. First of all, they are weak. Then, number two, they have what we call, this is another reason, they have what we call YOLO mentality. Youths, or most of the youths, have YOLO mentality. You only live once. They don't have a sense of, okay, why would I sacrifice? Why would I not have fun? Why would I, tell me now that I should not eat my money and save it? What if I die? So I had somebody saying, oh, I lost a button there. I had somebody saying that, what if you save 1 million and die? I mean, it's funny. I mean, the funny thing about life is that When you do not even save, when you do not even invest, that's the time you realize that you're going to live for 90. You know, and most these they have what we call the crowd thinking. The crowd thinking is where we are thinking collectively. We Gen Zs. They'll never say I Gen Z. They say we Gen Zs. We don't. We Gen Z. It's always about we. It's not about I. A time will come. I remember when I was in university. You know, we used to have this crowd thinking, meaning like we were having a lot of people at the same time, so we can reason together. And statistics have proven that a group of people tend to have a lower IQ. And then that's why you find a mob can even do a mess, but a single individual will always have a second thought. So in that sense, you find that the youths, they have this crowd thinking. You know, you define life from a different perspective. But anyway, it is what it is. So those and just other reasons are the reasons as to why you find most of the youths in Kenya are struggling, not only financially but also socially. You find in that sense there is a lot of complications. These youths are saying, hey, we are looking for a job. Once you give them a job, they become an issue. They blame the parents, they blame the government, and all those kind of things. But the one thing I'll tell you as I finish up this video, because I don't want to make it long, you find that these youths, or rather there's a point I always tell people, the fastest way out of poverty are two. One, it's learning a skill. Two is having what we call a business. So learning a skill, it positions you to a point whereby there is something that you can trade. Okay, there's something that you can trade. I know this, I can do that. For example, that guy who was editing my videos, you know, he couldn't catch up with, and but at the beginning, when imagine he was the one who looked for me, he told me, hey Joseph, I would like to work for you, you know, I love your video, I'm an editor, whatever. I said, okay, fine, let's go ahead. Okay, let's go ahead and work. But you see, me waking him very early in the morning, and you remember I wasn't paying them per month or whatever, it was per video. Waking up, hey, how are you? Hey, by the way, there is a video, hey, there is a trending financial news I would like to report. I've already made a video about that. Check it out, an editor. So I'm like, yo, bro, I told you to, but they're not there. They're just reluctant, you know, they're not in a hurry, you know, it's just like that. Anyway, for me, I'm not so perfect, but I can foretell in future we might have a quite over different personalities, you know, who will actually be working. But hope you guys, you're prepared for that eventuality. This is Good Joseph, and at all the time, make sure that you hit that like button. Make sure that you subscribe, leave a comment on the comment section. And for now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one.